Hi everyone, this is Emily Wishaw with Wishaw Wellness bringing you today Brenna Backe. Brenna is the owner of Koa Fit here in Boulder, Colorado, and really focuses on, I would say, corrective exercise. You might describe it a different way though.
No, I usually describe it as corrective exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I had my first one-on-one session with Brenna several months ago now, being a body worker, I have this idea that I know my body pretty well and I know my patterns and I have ideas of what I think the corrective exercises should be based on my own knowledge, based on other people I've worked with in the past. And what Brenna had me do was not at all what I expected and was super simple but so dramatic. And I was really astounded. It was awesome. So I'm really impressed with Brenna's knowledge and way of working with the body. I think she's amazing. So I'm really excited to chat with her today and have her share some of her knowledge.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We were joking before we started filming, we both have our high buns today. I was joking, we're channeling Ida Rolf. So yes. Ida Rolf, the founder of Rolfing, she always said that when women would have their hair down, it would pull them down. And this isn't saying don't wear your hair down, I do it all the time. But any picture you see of Ida Rolf, her hair is always on the top of her head. And she believed it gives this idea of more of a lift.
That's what we're
doing so
right now.
We're channeling Ida Rolf today here in our interview. So yeah. So Brenna, I'd love just to start and just hear a little bit about how you got into the work that you do, particularly because the depth of knowledge Brenna has. There's a lot of people doing corrective exercise out in the world who are really awesome and bringing a lot of good, but the depth of knowledge and what Brenna brings is really outstanding and more than is the norm. So yeah, I'd just love to hear a little.
So I started actually, my plan was to go into physical therapy when I was in college. So
Mine too.
That was my plan. And I started working in physical therapy clinics, and I kind of noticed when you're in that situation, there's gaps.
Yeah.
So gaps both in some of the protocols that were being done, gaps in the discipline of your patient and their motivation to do exercise and things like that. And it wasn't an environment that I felt like I wanted to be in. It was really regimented. And then of course with insurance and things like that, there's targets that your physical therapist has to hit. So your care is kind of tweaked based on also insurance, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And that's not all physical therapists. There's wonderful physical therapists. I'm not putting them down at all, but that's just something that the environments that I was in, I was experiencing that. So I decided to go into personal training. I got my personal training certificate right out of college, just kind of as backup. But I started kind of just doing my own thing, and I really enjoyed working first with people. I've had a huge weight loss, so I've had a 50-pound weight loss.
I didn't know that.
I know. So I worked a lot with people with weight loss, but what happened was, of course, along the way, people would have, like, I rolled my ankle, or I hurt my back doing yard work, or I, sprained my wrist, or whatever it was. And because I kind of had this background, and I had been working with these PTs for many years, and I was still friends with them, and we were body geeks, so we just kind of talked about stuff, I started just being like, oh, well, just kind of come in and let's see what we can do. And so my reputation got to the point where it was kind of like, oh, my back hurt once too, go see Brenna, which is not the case. I'm not a physical therapist. That's not who I want to see all the time. But it kind of led to this kind of corrective exercise discipline that I do, which is very focused on alignment and very focused on patterning, really, is what it comes down to. So finding the compensation patterns in somebody and then trying to repattern the body out of that compensation pattern so that future injury can be avoided. So awesome. We spend a lot of time with active people that stop doing what they want to do because of pain, and we develop programs so that they can go back to what they want to do. Cool. So that's our main population, and then of course we also work with we still work with weight loss people and things like that as well, but our main focus is always on form and alignment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Which is so great to have that foundation, because and things is when people are so active and exercising, and we're all told, oh, you need to exercise, you need to do this. But when the body isn't aligned, when you are in a compromised structural pattern, you can actually be doing a lot of detriment to your body. And it's beautiful that you give the tools to people can learn their own patterns more. And
even like down to, I mean, I feel like I always say that the health has been left out of health and fitness. Like people have gotten really strong on the fitness side and forgot about the health side of things. And even when you're looking at weight loss too, if you're looking at stress levels and things like that, and you're pushing your body through these things on top of your stressful job, on top of like this, on top of that, like you can't, I know we all have this idea of like burn calories, but that's not actually like the best way for weight loss either. So on a whole balance, like if you're causing this huge inflammation in your body with all these stresses, it's not only going to add to like weight gain, but it's also going to add to like sore joints, sore body, you know, like getting sick. It's like all those things start to come up.
Yeah.
So we just started looking for balance a little bit more here.
And that's what one of your websites even has, balance in the title. Or well, one of the classes, actually how I was introduced to Brenna is I got a free class pass from a cycling group I was in. So I was like, oh, this sounds cool. So I came some Friday morning, did the strong and balance class. And it's stuff that really core foundational pieces to creating that strength and balance that I personally never do on my own because it's really hard. So I really appreciate the class.
It's tedious when you do it on your own.
Yeah,
so
but
it's
so nice to have the class and the framework, and I know I left feeling really good, really more in my body and more stable.
Yeah, so we have this Strong Balance class. And so I mean, the website is strongbalanceclass.com because we have online videos for that as well. But it basically takes everything from the common patterns or the common weaknesses, common tightnesses that I see in everybody, and I basically put that into a class as a maintenance program for some of the clients I've been seeing, because because we don't do traditional personal training, some people don't have the resources to see me 2 and 3 times a week for the rest of their lives. So they'll come and see me kind of to get started, and then once they have a really good foundation, they can take Strong Balance class and continue to do that on their own. And that's how that started. So that started as an option for our clients, but then it's just kind of grown into this online program, just because when I go and visit places, people ask me like, is there anyone who does this around here? I'm like, I don't know, but here's a class you can take. So it's kind of just developed. So we just launched our second version of the online class, which is nicer because it's a little bit faster paced and it's shorter. It's 45 minutes versus an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay.
So it's like a little bit nicer for people to do on a more regular basis.
Totally. Yeah, I know that to me, I'm already like, oh yeah, I can do 45 minutes.
Yeah. 40 to 45 minutes, people are like, I can do that. You start to get an hour, it's like,
feels long when you do it by yourself for some reason, even though what a week.
Well, and you have to get the clothes on, get whatever you're situated, and then you're at home, so it's
but it's so great that I love how you started to offer the classes just as an added benefit to clients who you recognize they might not be able to see you one-on-one forever. That isn't probably sustainable for a lot of people, but now too, to have the online portion to reach so many other people, and you can do it at home.
I have people doing it like on vacation because there's no equipment, so you can do it on the floor.
Cool.
Like you don't even really need a mat. You could use a towel just for your own peace of mind, but you really don't even need that.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm so impressed with you, Brenna, is, I mean, I've just known Brenna over the past several months, but I know when we first met, she was sharing with me how one of her big commitments for this year, which we're coming to the end of 2017, has really been her own personal fitness and self-care. And she runs a successful business. She has employees, so you're really, really busy. But she doesn't let that busyness get in the way of her own personal health and fitness. So I'd love to hear about how have you made that shift and really made that priority, because I know a lot of us are struggling with that, and we just get so wrapped up in our phone and our email and connecting that, I don't have time to walk, I don't have time to jog, I don't have time to do X, Y, and Z. I can't meditate.
Yeah,
whatever
so I get a lot of that. But first thing is, like, I think that you kind of have to organize your mind before you can organize your life. So thinking about kind of getting rid of distractions. So people always say that they're super, super busy, and the average American watches 4 to 5 hours of television a day.
Whoa!
So, so if you're watching even an hour of television a day, that's an hour that you could spend doing something. And I get that downtime is needed, but downtime on screens I don't feel like is the same thing.
I agree.
So not that saying I don't watch TV. That's not the case. But you want to limit your interactions. I try and limit my distraction of social media. Even my emails, like I'll sit down and collect those. I won't check my email throughout the day. I leave time where I'm like, this is my email time. So this is my blocked time for emails. And I don't read an email unless I intend to respond to that email.
Yeah, that's a great...
Yeah.
I'm working on that myself. Sometimes I've been noticing I, out of habit,
Like
just check my email, and I'll get an email that sends like a whole.
Yeah.
And I can't even respond to it at that time because I don't have the time. And I'm like, well, then why am I checking?
Why are you checking? Yeah. So it's like, I think that's a big thing. And for me, I see clients every hour. So my life's already kind of blocked in sections like that, so it's really easy for me to just block out that time that I need, and it helps because it shows you how much you could actually do in a week. Instead of saying like, yeah, I can fit in that. That's like an extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Sometimes 10 to 15 minutes is all I have in a day. I mean, I've had those days. But I also schedule my lunch, my workout, my time for blogging, my time for emails. So that's already in there. So if there's a 15-minute downtime, it's 15 minutes, that's fine. But I also kind of schedule my downtime, so it's okay. 15 minutes is like extra. So that's part of it, is kind of being organized and being dedicated to yourself. So if I schedule something, I show up on time for that. So if I'm scheduling to write my blog post, I start my blog post when I'm supposed to do it. And like days get hijacked, for sure. That's why all my workouts are at the beginning of the day.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, if you can get your workout in the beginning of the day, that's the most important thing.
I so agree with that.
Yeah. And then the most important thing, I think, is sleep. So I value sleep, and we actually, I know the podcast I just did I did it with a couple of my trainers. We were talking about like the thing you value most. I'm like, sleep over like food, showering, spending time with my dog, my husband, like doing fun things. Sleep. Like it is the thing that will keep you from getting sick. It's the thing where I can make clear decisions the next day. Like my work takes me twice as long if I'm foggy and distracted. So if I don't sleep, I mean, there's like the whole day is kind of a wash. So that's really important. So, spending time where you're in control of something that you're doing each day keeps your mind from getting that overwhelming, like, I'm a victim of my own life.
Yes.
So I think that's really important. It's just like, even if it's an hour and like your whole day got away from you, Missy, my trainer here, just told me a story about how she had a day where she was running out of the house and she was late already, and then her kid was crying, and then the dog puked. And so she had to get the dog's spit cleaned up, get the kid back with the sitter that she had at the time because her husband was out of town. She got to work, brought the wrong set of keys to work. Her husband actually took the keys to Denver. And so she had to go back home, get the right keys, come back, get in, train all day, and she took like 5 minutes and laced up a new pair of shoes that she just bought, and it like changed her whole outlook. She was like, okay, like I've got time. Like I was in control of one thing, and so now like life doesn't seem so crazy anymore.
Totally. Yeah. I love that story and that example, because we've got to be disciplined. Yeah, it's really about discipline, of taking the discipline to own that we got to take personal responsibility for our experiences. And I love that, even just taking 5 minutes of lacing up shoes in a whirlwind of a day.
You can control when you have a whirlwind day, just like zero in on like, I can control this one thing, that's what I'm gonna do. Sometimes it's as much as like clearing like my whiteboard to-do list and like updating it, which takes 3 minutes, but I just would never do it because I'd just be looking and I'd be like, I don't have time for that, I don't have time for that. Just take the time to do it. It's amazing how much it just makes you feel like, okay, I can continue with life.
Totally. Yeah, and you can relax back a little bit. It doesn't take long to shift your state. It just takes discipline.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And the more often you do it, the more it's easier to do. It's easier to like sink back into.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I love that your highest value is sleep. I'm taking a note from that for sure. It's something I'm working to learn, because I will often cut my sleep to be like, to wake up in the morning, I'm like, I gotta do my hour morning practice, and then I'm gonna work out, and then I'm just tired.
Yeah, then you're tired.
I'm tired with my
and
clients.
Like,
I'm tired.
Like we give so much of ourselves for our job. There's no way.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
I've been gone out of town the last couple of weeks. My first week was actually the home I grew up in, and I always sleep so well there. And it was there that I was like, oh, interesting, Emily. Like, I could sleep more at Boulder at my house. Like, what am I doing? I don't have to wake up. Yeah. So I am really appreciating that you're like re-honing that, and I'm really working on sleep.
I'm like kind of crazy about it. Like, I'm like, nobody messes with me sleep.
Nice. So, cool. I feel like I had a lot of personal takeaways for that. I'm like, oh, these are good. These are really good. So with that, I'd love to hear if you had like your number one tip you could share with us of, because it is overwhelming, and where do you start? Where do you start in getting into better alignment? Where do you get into better strength and balance? What is...
So the easiest way, I think, for alignment stuff on a day-to-day basis, so I tell people do this all the time, like whether you're sitting in the grocery store, you're waiting for your kid's soccer practice to be over, or whatever it is that you're doing where you just have time and you're just standing, find your feet. So so there's yogis and PTs describe this different, it's the same thing. So PTs talk about the 3 points of contact in your feet. So the center of your heel, the outside edge of your foot, and the ball of your foot. My yoga friends will talk about the 4 corners of your feet, which is the inside and outside of the ball of the foot and the inside and out of the heel of the foot. Either way, however you want to feel it, if you focus on that center of the ball, center of the heel of the foot, and you press into both contacts, you should feel almost like your arch is kind of suction cupping the floor. So finding that first, and then just kind of stacking yourself over that foundation. So just feeling as you're standing there, you're just feeling like you might even have to soften your knees so you can feel that your pelvis isn't, like pulling you forward or tucking way under. Kind of feel like, oh, where am I kind of in the center, and I feel balanced over my feet. And then adjusting the rib cage, which is, you might not get on the first one, that's fine. And then pressing your head to the ceiling. If that all sounds really confusing to you, I have a client that's always like, he's like, you always sound like yoga, where they're like, bat this one eyelash and point this finger. he gets really annoyed with it. But if that's too much, just press into your feet and press your head to the ceiling. And just draw yourself long. Those 2 forces up and down, just pulling you nice and tall. Just start that every day. It'll just help start to, you'll notice how much you sit here and how much you stand kind of
and in sitting, the feet connection to the floor is huge for not, sitting upright like this, right? That we're taught,
by any means.
But it does finding the feet on the floor, even just in sitting, so helpful for being stacked.
For connecting up, yes, for sure.
Such a good tip, and that's so easy. Because you can just do it when you're in line at the grocery store, going about your day. When you were saying it, I was really connecting with my feet. I'm like, oh yeah, there it is.
And then I kind of just, I do it all day because I talk about it all day. So it's helpful because I'm always kind of like, I'm always like tightening my tummy to try and get my clients to tighten their tummy. I'm always like, come on, you can do it. So that helps. But but like if you just kind of all day, like in the car, where are you sitting in the car? Like, have you ever noticed, like, you get in the car in the morning and you adjust your rear view mirror, and then you get in at night and you have to tilt it down, like, because you're, like, so, like...
That's interesting.
Yeah, like, a lot of people will, like, get in their car, like, after their work day, and they'll actually be like, oh, I have to tilt this down, like, I can't see anymore. Like, why, like, press into that? Yeah.
Cool, that's powerful. It's funny, a client of mine, so part of enrolling, I often will do some seated work with clients along the spine, and it's working with the feet connection. And one of my clients,
yes, I've had that work done.
Sits at her chair, her computer all day, and she shares with me, which I really appreciate, that she's like, I have your voice in my head the other day, and Emily's saying, connect with your feet, connect with your feet. And she's like, it helps me sit up straighter. And I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's such a good tip. It's so simple.
Yeah, being conscious through your day, going back to the self-care thing on all levels is good.
Put a reminder on your phone or Post-its. Yeah. Anything that can trigger that thought.
My clients always ask me if they're like, can you define an app where every 10 minutes it just tells me to stand tall? I'm like, I'm sure it could, but it's not really worth it.
That's so funny. So thanks so much for sharing so much of your wisdom. My main takeaway is I'm like, today I'm going to go in, I'm going to connect with my feet more. I'm going to continue to work on my sleep. And I like the hour blocks because for me, when I write a blog or newsletter, I'm working on this, but I forget to really schedule it. So it's easy to be like, well, I'm not in the zone yet.
And then you're like, oh, there's this email that came through, or oh, like I have a notification on Facebook, or oh, and it's like, you like the more you can just like do what's in front of you, no matter what it is. So if it's like your workout, like do your workout. Don't do your workout and kind of like be thinking about. I mean, I watch people's form like completely collapse when people are doing their workout. They'll do like 3 perfect reps. And then I'll say, what did you think about? And they're like, oh, I was just thinking about what I was going to get for dinner. I'm like, your form went to hell. Like, and that's kind of like, so be really conscious of, we're so distracted right now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And being really conscious of what you're doing at that moment is like, and it's going to make you feel like you have so much more control over your life.
Yeah. And that's powerful because
I think so.
Yeah.
It's how I stay sane.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can we stay in contact? And if anyone's curious to learn more, to work with Brenna from here, how can we find you?
So Koa Fit's in Boulder, Colorado, and our website is koafitusa.com, so KOAFIT USA.com. And you can also email info@that, so info@koafitusa.com if you want more information. And then aside her, I actually have like 3 websites. So Strong Balance has its own website as well. So strongbalance.com and then brennabacke.com as my own blog post on there.
And where are the online?
They're on strongbalanceclass.com.
Okay.
You'll also find them at Koa Fit too.
And I'll link all of this
perfect
underneath. But I think that's an awesome way to just start.
Yeah.
You can start in the safety of your own home, and if you're not local, that's a great way to incorporate.
And if you're local and you want to take a class just so you can kind of see what it's like in person, we can give you some tips. That works. If you're not local, we do online sessions. I won't call them Skype sessions because we actually use Zoom, but we do Zoom sessions.
Zooms with you.
We Zoom with you to try and help you kind of figure out what's going on with you first,
helpful.
So that when you're doing the class, you can kind of focus on like, oh, my right side's shorter, so I really need to make sure I'm like thinning out of there.
That's really good. That's good because you do need to have that outside reflection of what you're actually doing before just ingraining in habits more.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. You can offer it.
Cool.
Well, Brenna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you taking time. I know you're busy, but
yeah, but this is fun.
Yeah, so I honor your time and I'm excited to share you and feel like I learned a lot. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.